Welcome to Scorpio Soul Time. I'm Ronique, and this is my esoteric journey where I'm consistently learning progress over perfection. Every lunation cycle, I bring you a new video on either the new moon or the full moon, and I share with you where the astrology is leading us, as well as use tarot cards to be able to go through the different cycles of not only what is happening up in the heavens, but also seeing how it's reflected here on earth, because all of us are going through the same energies since we're all here on earth. And it's always very interesting to see how many of the, not only the themes that we're all going through in our everyday lives, but also depending on what's in your personal birth chart will kind of dictate what parts of your world are actually being affected at what times during these different aspects of the planet. So I appreciate you joining me here today. And today I'm really excited because I actually have a new tool to show you, and I'm going to show it to you once we start getting into today's video. Today's video is going to be around the new moon that's going to happen in Taurus of 3 degrees and 23 minutes on April 22nd, 2020. And that's going to occur at 10:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can adjust that time depending on where you are on the planet. Astrological wheel, or basically look at this as this is what the sky looks like. And it basically has, hopefully you can see it, it has all of the different astrological signs going around here. So we literally just came out of Aries season. And so here you can see this is where Aries is, and you can see here this is the sign for Mercury. Mercury is in the sign of Aries. You can see here Neptune is in the sign of Pisces. Over here you can see in Aquarius we have Mars and Saturn. Remember, Saturn just moved into Aquarius about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Pluto and Jupiter are sitting over here in Capricorn. And here you can see the sun and the moon are lining up in the sign of Taurus, which is creating this new moon. And the new moon is when the moon is actually dark because it is sitting right in alignment with the sun. And so at this particular time in the sky, it's very interesting because we are entering this period of where financial stability, our belongings, questions and themes around how society views their, not only their finances and security, but also values, right? You can see this really playing out in the world now with the pandemic, and where people are getting antsy and tired of staying at home. They are trying to figure out how they're gonna, make their businesses run. Employers are trying to figure out how they can, figure out if they need to lay off more people. I mean, here in the US, we are at a staggering, I think the last time I saw it's like 20 million Americans have filed for unemployment. So there's going to be this very strong energy, and I'm going to put this a little closer. Taurus, you can see there's going to be this strong energy between the sun and the moon, but it's also making a square over here to Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn is all about time, but also where we are being taught a lesson. And so there's almost this push and pull. Squares are 90 degrees. So there's going to be this push and pull from the sun and moon in Taurus, giving us that energy around our money, our values, our possessions. Like, we want to have control of how much money we make. We want to be in control of, being able to plan for the future. While over here in Aquarius, Saturn is like the bigger collective of where as a society are we looking at how much time do we have to be dealing with this pandemic on a more, not just, before it was more of the health crises back when we were, when the sun was over here in Aries, and there was this more almost compassionate, there was a compassionate, but there was this drive to figure out more about the health side of it. And remember, if you look back on our last, let's see, that would have been on April 7th. If you look back at that video where we had the full moon in Libra, it was about balance, nurturing relationships, trying to see how we could all relate to each other in balance and harmony. But now we're moving into this more energy of this, with this square, there's this energy of how are we taking our collective minds and this broader perspective on finances and where we stand, and really trying to figure out how does this square, because squares tend to be tension. And so there's going to definitely be some conversations around how do we feel secure? How do we feel secure in our own minds and our own homes, with our career, with our jobs, how we make money? But there's also going to be this Uranian energy, because Uranus is in Taurus for a total of 9 years. And so it's been here already for, I believe, the last 2 years, or maybe it was last year, but we still have quite a bit of energy about Uranus in Taurus. And so there's going to be these themes in this next lunation cycle about how do we use our power, how do we use our individual our minds, but also like our drive against people not controlling us, if you will. There's going to be a lot of pushback, if you will, against the government, against ruling powers, against employers. Like there's going to be this push and pull against our values of the collective, but also our values as individuals. And I brought this Hierophant card out here because the Hierophant is really the tarot card that's the major arcana card, but the Hierophant rules anything dealing with government, dealing with authority, rules, regulations, things that are really based off of, we don't necessarily have control over them, but they have more of a control on us. And so I want you to think about that through today's reading and throughout this lunation cycle as we go to this new moon in Taurus, because there's going to be this continued theme of how is governing bodies, how are we adapting, how are we taking control of our own destiny, if you will. And that Uranian theme of Taurus is really going to come up. I mean, we're going to probably witness events in our next 8 years around our finances, how the government handles our budgets, our control of money. You might see this playing out in your own at your job. You might see this playing out in your own municipalities, because the Hierophant really is control over things that have, law, rules, that type of thing. So I want you to think through to the last video that we did when we had the new moon in, actually it was the full moon, right? The full moon in Libra on April 7th, because that definitely was a time that we were trying to determine how we could find more balance in our life. And I think that at this time, we're really trying to get not only balance from that full moon in Libra cycle, but we're now trying to figure out, okay, if I try to acquire balance, how am I now using that information to move forward in my security, in my way that I look at my career, the way that I make money? I think this is going to be a time that many people find entrepreneurial ventures very big right now. I would encourage any of you that have an entrepreneurial spirit or have had ideas of maybe I should start my own business on the side. I'm not really sure where this financial, climate is going. This is a really good time to tap into those energies, because with all of the Taurus energy, there's going to be this almost like download of different information that you may need to start looking for either something new. You might need to find new ways of how you make money. You might need to have, I call it a backup plan. This is a good time to start thinking of a backup plan, because you can already see that our government and how money is being dealt with, talked about, distributed. It's never going to be on an even playing field. I mean, that's just the earth in general. But I think that this is really a good time for us all to start being a little smarter with our funds. I just saw something fly out. So I see the 4 of Swords. So I'm going to do a past, present, and future spread today. And then I'm going to use 2 different decks to clarify, because I think that it really helps to use 2 different decks to see if repeated themes come up. All right, so I want you to think through what type of information or messages do you need today around your financial security, around your possessions, around your job. This is really going to be one that is helpful for you. And if you look back in the playlist on Scorpio Soul Time, you will see a video that I put out that was just about how to work with these energies when you have so much chaos. And I did that especially for this time, because I feel like this pandemic is making people afraid, and it needs to arm you with a better sense of security. Instead of feeling like you have no power, we all have individual power, but we have to actually tap into it. So I want you to look at that video in the playlist, and also look back at that full moon in Libra, because I think that's also going to give you some ideas of what you need to feel secure on, like relationships, balance, before even, tackling this full moon. I keep saying full moon, this new moon in Taurus. So you can also see that the 10 of Cups just came out, which is always a good sign. It is in reverse, so it means that there might be some patience that's needed. Might not come right away, but there definitely is. That is a good sign when we see the 10 of Cups come out. All right, so we have the Fool in reverse as our past. We have the Justice card in the present in reverse. And we have the 2 of Cups in the future in reverse. Okay, and I just heard look at the bottom. So we'll also look at, oh, look at that. And we'll do that one too, because I think that there definitely are some reoccurring themes that I already see. So I'm gonna bring the camera a little closer. Okay. So let's first start off with this 4 of Swords. This 4 of Swords flew out, and the 4 of Swords have to do with taking a break, taking a mental break from anything that you have been putting too much mind energy into. Remember, swords have to do with air energy, and so this picture is of this soldier who is taking a break. You can see he's laying down, resting. This often is a symbol to me of not only physically resting, but mentally taking a break from the burdens that have been plaguing you. Let's be honest, this time has been very mentally draining for everyone, for the world, for all of us trying to just figure out where we're at with this pandemic, where we're at with our families, having to adjust to, many of us are working from home. Many of us are having to adapt to our families being at home. We're having so much stress on us that this card is basically saying it's time to figure out what is it that you are putting too much mental energy into, and you need to take a rest from it. Stop worrying so much and put it into more of a positive direction. So that's the information that I'm getting from that Four of Swords. Then I also see, so that would be the energy of the present, and then the energy I see of the future is this 10 of Cups. So I like to turn it right side up so you can see it first, and then we'll talk about it in reverse. So the 10 of Cups is definitely an energy of a happy family. They're looking out over their home, their children are playing, and the 10 of Cups means you are emotionally fulfilled with your family, with your surroundings. You really feel like you've developed a good emotional bond with not only yourself, but your spouse, your loved ones, your community. Like, this really is like that epitome of we've arrived card. With it in reverse could mean that this is on the way. Hasn't come yet. It could mean could be a few stumbles in the road before you'll actually get to this, but it definitely is on the way. And sometimes I also read reversals as you just need to have more patience, like it's coming but it just hasn't manifested yet. So think that's a good card to have in the future, because it means even though we're going through a lot of stress, heartache, and mental anguish right now, there is emotional support. And I really look at that as like a community card. Like, there's a lot of emotional good support on the way. Then also we had the Three of Wands come out. And the Three of Wands have to do with passion. So passion can be anything from, what you are getting ready to get started. And I'm looking at this also in the present, because I think that there is like this renewed sense of like we're all ready to get back into it. And the Three of Wands is, I always think of this as like a racing flag over his shoulder. Like, he is raring to go. You can see his ships are here. He's looking over the mountain and he's like, you know what? I am ready to grow. You can see the little buds here. Like, he is ready to go. He's ready to get out there, and he's looking over what he is getting ready to start. And so I think there's this energy also of like, where is it in our lives that we can take control over getting ready to begin something again? With all of us in this resting state that we've all been kind of like, okay, I've been inside long enough. I don't really know how much, more isolation I can do. I know that I need to rest mentally, but I still have like this angst to get ready. And especially with Mars still being in Aquarius, there's still like that push of like, I want to get out there and do something. I want to plan. So this is really a good energy for those of you, like I was saying, with that entrepreneurial spirit. This is the perfect time to start planning something. Even if you're not already taking the first steps, you're actually planning. Like, this to me, Three of Wands is like that. You're raring to go. You're getting your facts. You're figuring out what kind of business you want to start. You're talking to the bank. You're talking to the right people. Like, the Three of Wands is like, start getting your eggs, your ducks, however you say it, in a row, so that you can, when the gun goes for the race, you are already ready. So that's what that Three of Wands to me is symbolizing. So with the Ten of Pentacles, you really feel like you have a strong grasp on the conversations around money, around your resources, but since it is in reverse, you're not quite sure which direction it's going to take. And with it being on the bottom of the deck, I'm also sensing you're not quite sure when this is actually going to fruition. So I think that for most of us, we are all in this what if, you know what I mean? We're in this, okay, what happens when, you know, this everyone finally goes back to work, our country reopens. Are we going to be safe and secure in our jobs, in our finances? Are we going to be able to save money for the future? So I think that this 10 of Pentacles in reverse, but that was on the bottom, is saying it's on the way and you need to be thinking about it, but it's not something that you're going to have answers for right away. So I think that it's almost like I'm seeing each of the 4 suits represented here. We have the cups, which is the emotional energy. We have the swords, that is the air energy. We have the wands, that is the passion and willpower energy. And then we have the pentacles, which are the physical resources, time, energy, values that I said Taurus is known for. So there definitely is this representation of all of the elements at work during these next 2 weeks of the new moon in Taurus. So I want you to keep that in mind, that it's not just going to be one-sided. You're going to have a lot of different emotions, a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different drives, if you will, because there's just a lot of energy happening at this new moon in Taurus. So in the past, we have the Fool card, which is the very beginning of the major arcana. And the 0 represents the Fool's journey, like the very beginning of this. It's basically your journey, right? So it's you getting ready to embark on something new. With it in reverse, though, it's this energy of, are you sure you know what you're doing? Are you sure that you're paying attention? Because there's this little dog down here. Let me put it so you can see it. There's this little dog here saying, okay, are you paying attention? Because you're getting ready to walk off a cliff. While your head is all up in the sky and you're all excited, this dog is telling you, wait a minute, you need to pay attention. So this card in reverse often symbolizes you may have in the past embarked on an adventure that was new, that you didn't know much about, that you maybe needed to find out more information about, but you started something new in the past that you maybe are still trying to reap the rewards from, you're still trying to learn lessons from, but this is basically like in the past you started something new, okay? And this could also mean, since we're now going into this Taurus energy, this could have been a new job you started. It could have been a new classes you started. It also could be something around your finances. Did you start up a new bank account? Did you start off a new way of investing? Did you start off something in that regard? So think through maybe what you could have started. Now the Fool also being from the past, this could have been something you started back in this last let's see, so if we're going into a full moon now, it could have been the full moon from the previous cycle. So this could have been the full moon that was back in, let me look at what the last full moon. So the last full moon would have been full moon in Virgo on March 9th. So I would encourage you to look back on the full moon in Virgo on March 9th in my playlist, because there could be some information in that video that helps you figure out what it is that you could have started in the past that maybe you were naive about, or maybe you just didn't have enough information about. So I would encourage you to look back at that full moon in Virgo on March 9th video, because for some reason I'm hearing messages about you started something, you didn't quite have enough information, and maybe the energies now, especially surrounding about something dealing with work, finances, stability, security, like this Taurus energy. I want you to look back on that video and let me know if you have any thoughts, because also with it being the full moon in Virgo back on March 9th, Virgo, Taurus, both are that energy of Venus, where it's like you're possessions, earthly goods. So yeah, there's definitely something there in that last full moon lunation cycle that I want you to figure out where that Fool plays a part, because I have a feeling in this present that I'm seeing this Justice card, maybe something isn't working, okay? So in the present, we have the number 11 major arcana card is Justice. And Justice is that card that is, it can be very literally something is not injustice. So it can deal with court rulings. It could be you're battling for something. It could be things at work, things in your society, things in, I mean, just look at where we're at right now with the collective, with our government, with our health, with all of the pandemic related themes, right? This could be healthcare workers not having, you know, the correct PPE and, you know, protective equipment and all of that they need. It can be anything as simple as in your local community where you're feeling like there's not justice for the small business owner, or you're feeling like, you know, if you're a restaurant owner, you're someone who works in a service related industry, that you're not getting the justice that, you know, you're due for. And this is in reverse. So there definitely is this theme of like injustice, as well as there's also this theme of, since it's related to this Taurus full moon or Taurus new moon energy, there's also this sense of anything around your finances and security doesn't feel like you're getting a fair shot. It doesn't feel like you're able to see all of the resources and information that you need to be able to like fairly move forward. That's what I'm really sensing here in this present. And so you're going to have to take back your power. That's what I keep hearing, is take back your power. I think there's this energy around Taurus, the bull, that is like, you're going to have to be stubborn. You're going to have to stand up for what is rightfully yours. And I think that that's what's happening in a lot of areas of the US right now. Like I just saw, you know, a lot of cities around the country are protesting that they can't go back to work. Like especially small business owners are saying, you know, yeah, we're concerned about the pandemic, but at the same time, we have to feed our families. We don't want our businesses to, you know, completely dry up. And so I think that there definitely is this sense, I think it makes sense that this Justice is basically in the reverse, in an injustice, because there's this consistent theme right now with this Taurus energy. And I think that these next 2 weeks, we're going to really see this play out, where we're going to see more people feeling like there's injustice around their security, their finances, their possessions. And in the future, I see the Two of Cups. And the Two of Cups usually deal with partnerships, any type of people coming together. It could be on an emotional level. So this could be relationships that are more of a romantic relationship, but this can also deal with just communities partnering together to work together around security, around our possessions. This can be even you in a business relationship, possibly talking to new people around how you operate your business, how emotionally you come together to work together. But since it is in reverse, remember, we are now looking at maybe there's some tension between relationships. It could be between business partners. It could be between you and a loved one. You could be having just not seeing eye to eye on how you move forward. This can also play out I think, at your work, where you're emotionally tied to your work, but your boss is telling you that, you know, we might not be able to keep all of you for the next 6 months. Like This can also be kind of like an emotional strain in the future where you were hoping that it was going to come together in a good way, but you're just not quite sure the timing on this. You're not quite sure if it's going to come together as you once thought. And so I'm going to pull some clarifier cards for these because as you can see, everything is in reverse. Anytime the cards are in reverse, this also symbolizes to me that there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of hurry up and wait scenarios coming up. So let's pull, I'm going to get out my other deck here that is going to help us clarify some of these themes, because I'm really wondering too how, especially with that Fool, there's something about that Fool in the past. Oops, we won't use that one because I don't think I had a good grip on the cards. There's something about the Fool in the past that's making me almost feel like we entered into something hastily or foolishly, or something needed to go, like something needed more forethought, something needed to be worked out. Now these cards seem to be having like a lot of I don't know if there's like a lot of energy in them or what. So I'm going to be quiet for a second and focus on these cards, because since they're like flying everywhere, maybe I can't talk and shuffle. So give me a moment while I think through what are the emotional energies. What is it? All right, so I'm first going to be pulling a card for the past with the Fool. Okay, let's split the deck in three. I'm going to move the camera out a little. All right, so we're going to divide the deck into three. All right, so for the Fool, I got the Devil. That's what I was afraid of, and you see it's in reverse. So yeah, we definitely went into something hastily. I'm gonna pull out pull a clarifier card for the Justice card in the middle, or what I'm calling the Injustice card since it's in reverse. What do I have here for Justice? The Death card. So something needs to come to an end in our heads. I think it's interesting, these are all major arcana cards. You notice that? The Fool, the Devil, Justice, and Death. So I mean, these are some major themes going on right now. And for the future, there's Two of Cups. What do I need to know about the Two of Cups for the future? What do I need to know about the Two of Cups for the future? King of Pentacles. Well, finally, some kind of good news, right? All right, so let's take this one at a time. So the Devil card here. So let's turn it right side up so you can see it first. So we've talked about the Devil card in the past, and the Devil card I like to call the In My Feelings card. So it is this devil energy, and it is looking down on these two people who are in chains and are basically bound to their thoughts, bound to some bigger entity than themselves. So I like to think of this as anything that your ego has been driving you to do. This can deal with your job, relationships, but since it's clarifying this Fool, I'm gonna put them both next to each other. Since the Devil is clarifying this card, I'm seeing the Devil as there is something in the past that you went into too hastily dealing with your ego, and you went into it for the wrong reasons, and now you're starting to second guess whether that was the right decision. So this Devil card to me is symbolizing you either got into, and since we're going into this Taurus season, maybe it was a financial dealing that you didn't really know enough about, and now you're starting to hesitate as to like whether that was a good idea that you entered. Maybe it's a job you started with the wrong type of people. There's just like some type of energy around you started something that you probably shouldn't have. And this could also go all the way back to whenever let's see, so if we are going into the full moon of Taurus now, let me see when the new moon in Taurus would have been. So the new moon in Taurus, oh, excuse me. So we're going into the new moon. So really the full moon. So anytime you're kind of like thinking of information, of themes that could repeat itself, always go back to where that opposite lunation cycle was, but in the same sign. So since we're going into this Taurus new moon, you need to look back at the Taurus full moon. And the Taurus full moon looked like it was back in, was it in November? Taurus full moon. I have my little, I keep track of all of my videos here. So the full moon in Taurus was on November 12th. So 6 months ago in November, was there something that you went into unknowingly? You thought you had more information, you weren't quite sure, you got into it for the wrong reasons. Look back in the playlist, and if you go to the full moon in Taurus, that was the November 12th video, you will discover something that I have a feeling you either regret right now, or it's playing out in a way that you were not anticipating. And this can be a lot of different things, especially with where our pandemic has taken us. So, I mean, you may have gotten into a job or into a relationship or into some kind of financial dealings with someone. Remember the Two of Cups? You may have gotten into a financial dealing that was not what you thought it was going to be, and now you're regretting it. So that's what I'm seeing with the Devil and the Fool. In the present is the Death card. Now here, the Death card, I'm also feeling could be a Scorpio, because death actually is represented by Scorpio, and there could be someone in your life that is either a Scorpio or has Scorpio like as an ascendant sign, or maybe their Venus could be Scorpio. Somewhere in this death area, I'm feeling like there is a person, or you could be this death card, but death relates to there are beliefs that you have held too long that it's time to let go of them. This can be anything from you know, how you believed that the career that you have been in for the last 25 years has been the career that you're going to retire in, and now that career is drying up. It can be something like you believe that the government and your Social Security was going to be strong, and now you're starting to realize the government is not, you know, they're going into a crisis that they've never had to have this much money, you know, provided for the American citizens, and now you're worried about your financial health. I mean, there's just all these type of themes around what have you been holding true in your head that no longer are serving you. Because remember, we're going into this Taurus energy where there is that Hierophant, remember? And the Hierophant has to do with government rules, regulations. And I'm telling you, with this Justice card being in the present but being in the reverse, there's a strong sense that whatever injustices are playing out right now, you're going to have to rethink how you've been putting many things in your life on a pedestal that now need to come down, now need to they just need to be realigned in your head. You're going to have to create a new way of going about your future. And I think that this is a harsh reality for many people, especially those of us who thought, you know, this was going to be the year that I finally did A, B, and C. And now that this pandemic has occurred, now that the financial world is seeing, you know, we've never seen this in our lifetime. And so I think that a lot of us are having to rethink how we make money, rethink, you know, well, maybe the business that's been in the family for 50 years that has always made money every year, now, you know, that restaurant that's had to be closed for the last 5 to 6 weeks, maybe you need to have another game plan. Okay, so there definitely is an energy around what is no longer working, where is there injustice that you feel is injustice, but how can you empower yourself? Because Scorpio also has to do with, the death card has to do with death and rebirth. So there is this opportunity to take what does not feel just and to turn it around into a more positive future. And I think that's where this King of Pentacles comes in. So I think that while this kind of looks like doom and gloom, and you've maybe got into some things you shouldn't have gotten into with the Fool and the Devil, and now you're starting to realize you need to think through systems that are no longer working for you, I think this King of Pentacles definitely is a bright spot, because the King of Pentacles is saying, you know what? You can recover from this, and you may actually make more money. You may be more profitable. You may actually create new wealth for yourself that you didn't think of before. And I think that especially with this being on the heels of the clarifier of the Two of Cups, there could be an opportunity for new business relationships, new ways to partner with people, maybe you and your spouse, or you and your companion, you and your friends, you and your community. Somewhere there is this tie of positivity possibly in the future. Maybe you need the death and the burning of the, you know, like the phoenix rising, which many are going through right now with this pandemic and with this financial crisis. You're going to come out stronger, but you're really going to have to figure out what you need to let go right now in the present. Right here with this Death card and the Justice card, what is it that is no longer serving you? Because I think a lot of people are trying to hold on to things, and you can't keep holding on to things that are no longer serving you. So I think that, you know, this is a really powerful reading, and I think that as we go into this Taurus season, a lot of us are going to realize that there is opportunities to be had between the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles. There, you can tell that there's an energy of you need to fend for yourself. You need to figure out what your family needs to feel secure. You need to figure out what your family emotionally needs. Take a rest from what is no longer working, but start getting yourself ready for the next phase. Because the reality is that if you keep going with your same mindset, and maybe things that you did in the past that you entered into hastily, this is now the time to flip the script. Don't keep thinking that you're in a victim mentality, that the government is doing this to you. There are a lot of opportunities right now for people to make money. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was saying, just with the food delivery service, like, can you think of between, like, you know, the Uber Eats and the DoorDash and the Grubhub and even like your groceries being delivered, like those are all entrepreneurial jobs right now that are thriving. Like people don't want to go out. Now, of course, you're gonna have to be one of those people that actually want to leave your house. But I'm just saying, like, there are opportunities. Anytime there is a crisis, there is always opportunity. And you just have to figure out where that lies. If you're someone who's really good with programs and learning new skills, this might be a great time to jump on lynda.com or Udemy or any of these sites that you can gain more knowledge, gain more skills. I know for myself, for my job, I've been doing an AutoCAD class because I'm a architect by trade, but I haven't been doing actual drafting for like the last 10 years. But I like realized, okay, this would be a perfect time for me to like brush up on my AutoCAD skills. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like figure out what you can do in this time to empower your resources, to make you feel more stable, because I think that there is definitely some lessons to be learned here. And with all of these major arcana cards, this is really suggesting that you're going to have to get rid of this baggage in order to move to this King of Pentacles, in order to feel secure. Because you can see the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles, like the energies are feeling like it's possible, but you're definitely going to have to put some work in. You're definitely going to you can't just sit by the sidelines. You're going to have a game plan like this Three of Wands. Yes, this resting energy is here from a mental point, but I think that is saying it's time to relieve what you've been worried about and now turn that into empowerment with that Three of Wands. So I hope that you all enjoyed the reading. I hope this was really helpful for you. Please leave comments in the section below. I would appreciate if you liked, shared, commented for Scorpio Soul Time. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the bell below, and I will see you all next time on Scorpio Soul Time. Bye.